My name is Edouard. I'm Executive Vice President of Business Development and Marketing at BuzzData. BuzzData is a startup that's changing the way that people share data. I was originally an angel investor into BuzzData last year, but about 6 months down the road I liked the business so much that I came and joined them full time, taking up the business development and marketing activities. Prior to this I was running the North American operations of a UK-based telecoms company, putting Wi-Fi on trains, amongst other things. What hurdles have I overcome? Well, I've been lucky the most, for sure. I put that down to my parents, their hard graft, making sure that their sons came first. The hurdles recently, I guess, I'm obviously British, working in North America. There are some kind of cultural barriers. We all kind of sound the same, but we don't often mean the same thing. So I've had to learn that. I've been in North America for about 3 years now. Other things, earlier in my career, I did one of those kind of character assessment, personality assessment things. I spent 5 years as a strategy consultant, and I was rated as a plant on the Bellwin model, which meant that my completer-finisher skills were a big fat 0. So, particularly in startup life, can't really have that. You've got to see things through. So I've worked very hard at making sure that the areas where I know I'm weak, that I kind of actively work on those day in, day out. What has tripped me up? That's a very good question. Sometimes kind of not listening to the market, I guess, sometimes, with regard to kind of startup life, or not being able to separate, I guess, kind of the signal to noise in any kind of startup market, particularly when you're trying to find, launch a business and find your market. It's always noisy, and I guess it's difficult to figure out what to listen to, what's the most important things to be acting on, and I'm sure I don't always get that right. Resources. First and foremost, my team. We have a fundamentally excellent team at BuzzData. Kind of cross-functional developers, experienced business people, data journalists, you name it. So yeah, the team are my first and foremost resource. And then I guess my kind of network, like I'm quite a social person, so I do like to talk a bit, but I do like to listen as well. And I think I've been very lucky with my network from my strategy consultancy days back in kind of the UK and Europe, through to kind of 8 years in telecoms, through to kind of a couple of years in software. Met a lot of people, and they're very giving of their time. And I like to think that hopefully as I get a bit more experience and hopefully a more successful entrepreneur, then I'll be able to be in a position to give back to. At the end of 5 days of South by Southwest, exhaustion, the abyss of exhaustion, and then some fairly extreme parenting to make up for my complete lack of that over the last 5 days. From a kind of company perspective, I guess we're pretty lucky. I don't see that there's an abyss in front of us. We've got challenges without a shadow of a doubt, but nothing which we don't have kind of plans to address. Saying that, I'm sure that will change when I get back into the office tomorrow. Again, I guess my team and kind of our partners, including kind of board of my fellow angel investors as well, but also my wife and our 3-year-old who's I've got her college fund wrapped up in BuzzData, so I guess I owe it to her. Or she needs to get a scholarship. That's a lot of pressure for a 3-year-old. But I guess, yeah, fundamentally I'm inspired by making sure that they'll do it for them. And I mentioned earlier that I haven't had to overcome that many hurdles in my life. I've been very fortunate. So I'd like to get to a position where I can kind of pay back to my parents, who I think sacrificed quite a lot to make sure that I didn't face those hurdles. My wife, first and foremost. It's part of our compact that I go off and do this, and she keeps me grounded and normal. There's a couple of people in the business world, obviously. I mean, people that I've worked for previously. I've been very lucky. I've always had great bosses. BuzzData is no exception. Mark Kapowski, who's the CEO of BuzzData, is a top-class business person, but also a very good friend too. I guess if there's, it's been enormously inspiring actually being here. I must admit, kind of the run-up to South by Southwest last week, I was kind of thinking, oh, it's kind of the last thing we need to come and compete in the accelerator competition. But it's been very good for me. Like, I've got a lot of perspective. I'm excited to get back to my team, back to our office, and back to my customers. But I have found it pretty inspiring. My fellow competitors in the accelerator contest, they've been really good. I think some of the people I've met this week, including kind of Ben Hugh, the CEO of the Cheeseburger Network, he was one of the judges on our panel. I found him very inspiring, and he was also a really nice guy too, so very helpful.